I sat alone at Romano's, our anniversary restaurant, gripping the small velvet box in my jacket pocket. The waiter had already refilled my water glass twice, glancing at me with pity. Then my phone buzzed. Marissa's text glowed on the screen. "Let's skip tonight." Something came up. My chest tightened as I stood to leave, dropping cash on the table. That's when I saw her walk through the entrance, laughing with a man I didn't recognize. She leaned close to the hostess, her voice carrying just enough for me to hear. "Table for two. And please, I don't want my husband to know I'm here." The words hit me like a punch. She didn't see me standing there, frozen near the back corner. The man touched her lower back, guiding her toward their table. I watched them sit, watched her smile at him the way she used to smile at me. My hands went numb. I turned and walked out to the side exit, my face blank, my mind screaming. I drove home on autopilot, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Every red light gave me time to replay the last year in my head. The canceled dinners, the sudden work emergencies, the night she came home late, smelling like cologne that wasn't mine, her mood swings that I blamed on stress, the way she stopped kissing me goodbye. It all lined up now, forming a picture I'd refuse to see. When I pulled into our driveway, I sat in the car for 20 minutes, staring at our house. Finally, I walked inside, went straight to my office, and opened my laptop. In the corner of my desktop was a folder I created months ago, half out of paranoia, half out of instinct. I'd labeled it just in case. When I clicked it open, my stomach dropped. It was already half full with screenshots, bank statements, and saved messages. I'd been documenting without even admitting why. I scrolled to the folder, and memories crashed over me like waves. Last Thanksgiving, when Marissa canceled on my family, claiming a work crisis. My birthday, when she forgot entirely and blamed her busy schedule. Christmas, when she spent the evening on her phone, texting someone she called a colleague. Every family dinner she'd missed. Every holiday she'd ruined with an excuse. I used to think she was just overwhelmed, that marriage was hard and we'd work through it. But now I saw the truth. She'd been emotionally abandoning me for months, maybe longer. I opened her laptop, which she'd left on the coffee table, unlocked. My hand shook as I navigated to her deleted messages folder. Most people don't know you can recover those. What I found made my blood run cold. A message from 3 months ago. "I'm almost ready to leave him. Just need to get everything in place first." I spent the entire night building my case. I took screenshots of every suspicious text, every vague excuse, every inconsistency. I logged into our joint bank account and printed statements going back 6 months. My hands trembled, but not from sadness anymore. It was something else. Purpose. Focus. I created a timeline, matching her lies to the date she'd been with him. I saved voicemails she'd left, the ones where her tone shifted from warm to cold over the months. I backed everything up to 3 separate drives and a secure cloud folder. By the time the sun rose, I had a folder thick enough to choke on. Then I noticed something that made me sit up straight. There were bank transfers I didn't recognize. Large amounts, moving from our joint account to another account I'd never seen before. The name on the account wasn't hers. It was his. I stared at the screen, my pulse pounding in my ears. Over the past 4 months, Marissa had transferred nearly $30,000 to an account under the name Troy Brennan. That had to be him, the man from the restaurant. The amounts varied. $1,500 here, $3,000 there, sometimes $5,000 at a time. Each transfer was labeled something vague: household expenses, emergency fund, personal savings, but they all went the same place. I checked the account activity. The money was being spent on luxury hotels, expensive dinners, weekend trips. She was funding their affair with our money. My money. I felt sick, not heartbroken. Sick, betrayed on a level I didn't know existed. I took screenshots of every transaction, every label, every date. Then I opened a new document and began calculating the total. When the number appeared on the screen, I had to read it 3 times to believe it. The next morning, I called a lawyer I'd researched weeks ago, back when my gut first told me something was wrong. His name was Vincent Harrow, and he specialized in discreet marital investigations. His office was in a quiet part of town, the kind of place you'd never notice unless you were looking for it. I sat across from him, my folder on the desk between us. He flipped through it slowly, his expression unreadable. Finally, he looked up. "You've caught this early," he said. "Most people come to me after everything's already gone public. You still have control here." I nodded. "What do I do?" He leaned back in his chair, hands steepled. "You let her keep digging. Don't confront her yet. Document everything. If she thinks you're clueless, she'll get sloppy." He slid a business card across the desk. "Call this investigator. He'll get you what the courts need." Then he smiled, thin and cold. "You're going to win this, Caleb, but only if you stay smart." That night, Marissa came home late, humming as she walked through the door. She set her purse on the counter and smiled at me like nothing had happened. "Hey, babe," she said, leaning in to kiss my cheek. I forced myself not to pull away. "Rough day?" I asked, keeping my voice light. She sighed dramatically. "You have no idea. Work is insane right now." I nodded, pretending to believe her. We made small talk over reheated pasta, and I played along, asking about her projects, her boss, her stress. She seemed relaxed, almost happy. Then she slipped. "Can you pass the salt, Troy?" she asked, not looking up from her plate. My heart stopped. She froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. Then she laughed, too loud, too forced. "I mean, Caleb. Sorry, I've been working with a guy named Troy all week. My brain's fried." I smiled. "No Juarez." But my phone was already recording in my pocket. I couldn't sleep that night. While Marissa snored beside me, I went through her family's messages to me. Her parents used to be warm, inviting, always checking in. But over the past few months, their tone had shifted. Short responses. Canceled plans. Then I found a group chat I wasn't supposed to see. It was between Marissa, her mother, and her sister. I scrolled through months of messages, my jaw tightening with every line. They mocked me, called me boring, laughed about how I didn't even notice what was happening. Marissa's mother had written, "He's so clueless. It's almost sad." Her sister replied, "Just leave him already. You deserve better." And Marissa's response, sent just 2 days ago, "Soon. I'm almost ready." I took screenshots of everything. Then I saw a message from Marissa's aunt dated last week. It was short, direct, brutal. "Just leave him already. Stop wasting time." They all knew, and none of them cared. The investigator Vincent recommended was fast. Within a week, he handed me a thick envelope filled with text logs called records and location data. All of it legal, all of it admissible. I sat in my car and read through every page. Marissa and Troy had been planning a future together for months. They discussed moving in together, traveling, even starting a business. But the part that made my blood boil was this. They were waiting for one final move. A message from Troy to Marissa, dated 2 weeks ago. "Once you get the inheritance from his grandmother, we're set. Then you can leave." My grandmother had passed away 3 months ago, leaving me a significant amount of money. Marissa knew about it. She'd been sweet, supportive, even tearful at the funeral. And now I knew why. She wasn't waiting for me to heal. She was waiting for the money to clear. I closed the envelope and stared out the windshield. They thought I was their paycheck. They were wrong. A week later, Marissa dropped the bomb. We were sitting in the living room, and she turned to me with a serious expression. "Caleb, I think we need to talk." I looked up from my book. "About what?" She hesitated, then said, "I've been thinking maybe we should cancel our marriage counseling. It's not really helping, is it?" I stayed calm. "If that's what you think." She blinked, surprised by my lack of resistance. "And maybe," she continued, "we should try a temporary separation, just to clear our heads." I could see it in her eyes. She expected me to beg, to cry, to fight for us. Instead, I smiled. "Okay." Her face flickered with confusion. "Okay." "Yeah," I said. "If that's what you need, I understand." She stared at me, her brow furrowing. "You're not upset?" I shrugged. I want you to be happy, Marissa. She didn't respond, but I could see it. Suspicion creeping into her eyes. The next morning, I went to bank. Everything I did was legal, planned with Vincent's guidance. I moved half of our joint funds into a protected legal account, one that required both signatures to access. Marissa had access to her half. I had access to mine. It was perfectly fair, perfectly allowed. That afternoon, she tried to make a withdrawal. Denied. She tried again. Denied. By evening, she stormed into the house, her face red with fury. "What did you do?" she demanded. I looked up from my laptop, feigning confusion. "What do you mean?" "The bank account, Caleb. I can't access it." I frowned. "That's weird. Let me check." I pulled up the account on my phone, pretending to scroll. "Oh, it looks like there's a hold. Maybe it's a security thing? You should call them." She glared at me, suspicious but unable to prove anything. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, storming upstairs. I waited until I heard her door slam. Then I smiled. A few nights later, Marissa exploded. We were arguing about something small, a forgotten errand, but she turned it into an attack. "You're useless, Caleb," she hissed. "You've always been useless. I don't know why I ever married you." I stayed calm, letting her vent. She kept going, her words sharper, crueler. "You're boring. You're pathetic. And honestly, I've been so much happier without you around." Then she slipped again. "Troy actually listens to me. He actually cares." My heart pounded, but I didn't react. I just nodded, letting her continue. She ranted for another 10 minutes, listing every way I'd failed her, every reason she deserved better. When she finally stopped, I said quietly, "I'm sorry you feel that way." She scoffed and walked away. What she didn't know was that my phone had been recording in my pocket the entire time. Every word, every insult, every confession. I saved the file and sent it to Vincent. His reply came within minutes. Perfect. Vincent's investigator uncovered something else. Marissa had been using her company's resources to see Troy. She'd booked business trips that didn't exist, charged personal expenses to her corporate card, and even used company time to meet him during work hours. All of it violated her employment contract. I read through the evidence. Hotel receipts with her company card, timestamps showing she clocked in while being hours away, emails where she lied to her boss about client meetings. It was all there, documented, undeniable. Vincent smiled when I showed him. "This is leverage," he said. "If she tries to fight the divorce, we can make sure her employer knows. She won't just lose you. She'll lose everything." I didn't feel guilty. I felt powerful. For the first time in months, I wasn't a victim. I was the one in control. And Marissa had no idea what was coming. I followed her one night, not to confront her, but to confirm what I already knew. She told me she was working late, but I tracked her phone to a hotel downtown. I parked across the street and waited. 20 minutes later, she walked in with Troy. They didn't look around, didn't check if anyone was watching. They were careless, confident, safe in their little lie. I took photos. Time-stamped, clear, legal. I sent them to Vincent with one sentence. Green light. His response was immediate. Time to move. I drove home, my hand steady on the wheel. The next phase was about to begin. And Marissa was going to learn exactly what happens when you underestimate someone. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. And that made me dangerous. She'd built a house of cards, and I was about to blow it down. For the next 2 weeks, I played the perfect husband. I brought Marissa coffee in the morning. I asked about her day. I smiled when she came home late, never questioning where she'd been. She started to relax, convinced I suspected nothing. One night, she even told her mother on the phone, "He's finally become the husband I wanted. It's like he's trying again." I listened from a hallway, my jaw tight. She had no idea. Then, one morning, an email from Vincent appeared in my inbox. The subject line was simple. "Everything is ready." I opened it and read through the attached documents. The divorce filing, the evidence summary, the financial breakdown. Everything we needed was compiled, organized, airtight. At the bottom of the email, Vincent had written, "When you're ready, we move. Just say the word." I stare at the screen, my finger hovering over the reply button. Then I type one word, "Now," and hit send. A week later, Marissa invited me to her family's big celebration. Her parents were hosting a dinner for her father's retirement, and everyone would be there. Her siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. She begged me to come. "Please don't embarrass me," she said, her tone half pleading, half warning. "Just be normal, okay? Don't be awkward." I nodded. Of course. The night before the dinner, she prepped me like I was a child. Don't talk about work. Don't bring up anything controversial. Just smile and nod. I agreed to everything. What she didn't see was a thick folder I'd packed in my bag. Inside were printed screenshots, bank statements, text logs, photos from hotel, and transcripts of every recorded conversation. Vincent had organized it all into a presentation that would leave no room for doubt. As I zipped the bag closed, I felt a strange sense of calm. This was it. The moment everything would change. And I was ready. The dinner started off normally. Marissa's family gathered around the table, laughing, drinking, celebrating. I sat quietly, smiling when spoken to, playing the role Marissa expected. Then, halfway through the meal, she started, "You know," she said, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Caleb's been so distant lately. I've been trying so hard to make this work, but he just doesn't put any effort." Her mother nodded sympathetically. Her sister smirked. I stayed silent. She continued, painting me as lazy, unloving, a burden she'd carried for years. The table laughed at her jokes, pitied her struggle. Then I stood up. The room went quiet. "I brought an anniversary gift," I said calmly. Marissa's smile faltered. "What?" I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder. Her face went pale. "I think everyone should see this," I said, and I placed it on the table. I opened the folder and began laying out the contents, one by one. First, the screenshots of Marissa's messages with Troy, planning their future together. Her mother gasped. Then the bank statements, showing $30,000 transferred to his account. Her father's jaw dropped. Next, the photos from the hotel, time-stamped and clear. Her sister's smirk disappeared. I placed the transcripts of our recorded conversations on the table. Her cruel words printed in black and white. Then the evidence of her misusing company resources, violating her employment contract. The room was silent. Marissa sat frozen, her hands gripping the edge of the table. Her mother finally spoke, her voice shaking. "Is this real?" I nodded. Every word, every transaction, every lie. Marissa's father stared at her, his face red with fury. "You did this." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I looked around the table one last time. Then I turned and walked toward the door. As I reached the door, I stopped and turned back. "One more thing," I said. The room was still silent, everyone staring at me. "All that money Marissa hid? According to our lawyer, she's legally responsible for every cent. That includes penalties, fees, and restitution." Marissa's face went white. "What?" "You'll be hearing from my attorney," I said calmly. The room erupted. Her mother started shouting. Her father demanded answers. Her sister looked horrified. And Troy, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, suddenly stood and slipped toward the exit. Marissa noticed. "Troy, wait." But he was already gone. She screamed his name, but he didn't look back. I watched her for a moment, her world collapsing around her. Then I walked out, the sound of her family shouting fading behind me. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. The next morning, I sent a carefully compiled report to Marissa's HR department. It included every piece of evidence showing her policy violations, the falsified business trips, the misuse of company funds, the personal expenses charged on her corporate card. I attached timestamps, receipts, and email correspondence. Everything was documented, undeniable. I hit send and waited. 2 hours later, I received a response from HR. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We will be conducting an internal investigation. Ms. Whitmore has been asked to attend a meeting tomorrow morning. I forwarded the email to Vincent. His reply was short, checkmate. By the end of the day, Marissa called me 17 times. I didn't answer. She left voicemails, her voice frantic, desperate, begging me to pick up. Caleb, please. We need to talk. This is insane. Please call me back. I deleted every message without listening to the end. She'd had months to talk to me. Now it was too late. Over the next few days, Marissa's life unraveled. Troy blocked her number. Her job placed her under formal investigation. Her family, furious and humiliated by the public spectacle, stopped answering her calls. I heard through mutual friends that her mother had told relatives. She brought disgrace to this family. Her father refused to speak her name. Even her sister, who had mocked me at the dinner, cut off contact. Marissa tried reaching out to me constantly. Texts, calls, emails. Caleb, please. I made a mistake. We can fix this. I'm sorry. I was confused. I didn't mean any of it. Please don't do this. I need you. I read every message with cold detachment. She didn't need me. She needed someone to save her from the consequences of her own choices. And I wasn't that person anymore. Finally, she sent one last message. Please, just meet me once. I'm begging you. I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied, fine. One meeting. We met at a quiet coffee shop, neutral territory. Marissa was already there when I arrived, her eyes red and swollen. She looked smaller somehow, like the weight of everything had crushed her. I sat down across from her, without saying a word. Thank you for coming, she whispered. I nodded. You have 10 minutes. She broke down immediately, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Caleb. I made a huge mistake. I was confused, scared. I didn't know what I was doing. I stayed silent. She kept going, listing excuses, justifications, apologies. I never meant to hurt you. I love you. I always have. Please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. Start over. No, I said quietly. She stopped, blinking at me. What? You ended this a long time ago, Marissa. You just didn't have the courage to say it. I reached into my bag and pulled out the signed divorce papers. I'm just finishing what you started. I slid them across the table. She stared at them, her hands trembling. Caleb, please. But I was already standing. Goodbye, Marissa. And I walked out. The divorce was finalized 2 months later. Marissa lost almost everything. Her job terminated her after the investigation confirmed her policy violations. Troy never contacted her again. Her family's trust was shattered, and most of them refused to speak to her. Financially, she was responsible for the money she'd stolen and the penalties that came with it. She moved into a small apartment across town, alone. I heard from a mutual friend that she was bitter, angry, blaming everyone but herself. It's not fair, she told someone. Caleb ruined my life. I didn't laugh when I heard that. I didn't feel anything at all. She'd made her choices. Now she was living with them. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding. I moved into a new apartment, started going to gym, reconnected with old friends. For the first time in years, I felt light, free. But Marissa wasn't done yet. She had one last move left, and it was the worst one yet. 3 months after the divorce, I received a letter from the court. Marissa had filed a claim against me, accusing me of harassment and emotional abuse. She claimed I'd stalked her, manipulated her, and coerced her into signing the divorce papers. My stomach turned as I read the accusations. They were lies, every single one. Vincent called me immediately. Don't worry, he said. We have everything we need to disprove this. He was right. We presented the court with my meticulously kept logs, the timestamps, the recordings, the evidence showing Marissa's affair and financial theft. Her lawyer tried to argue, but the judge shut it down quickly. Ms. Whitmore, the judge said, her voice stern, these accusations are not only unfounded, they border on frivolous. I'm dismissing this case, and I'm issuing a formal warning. If you file another baseless claim, there will be consequences. Marissa sat in her chair, her face pale. I walked out of the courtroom, Vincent beside me. "It's over," he said. I nodded. It really was. And I had won. 6 months later, I was sitting on a beach, the sun setting over the water. I'd taken a week off work to travel, something I'd never done before. My phone buzzed. A message from Marissa. "I hope you're happy now." I stared at it for a long moment. Then I typed back, "I am." And I meant it. I blocked her number, deleted the message, and set my phone down. The waves rolled in, steady and calm, and for the first time in over a year, I felt at peace. I'd rebuilt my life from the ground up. New apartment, new routines, new friendships. Even Marissa's relatives had reached out to apologize, ashamed of how they treated me. I didn't hold grudges. I just moved forward. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I stood and walked along the shore, the sand cool beneath my feet. Marissa had tried to destroy me. Instead, she'd freed me. And now, I was finally living the life I deserved. Free, happy, whole.